everyone, I'm Laura Gail Luck. We are here today to update you on what's probably the biggest project to take place in West Wichita in years. We're talking about the 235 floodway crossing. We have two guests here with us today. Seated next to me is Wichita City Councilman Jeff Longwell, and down at the end is Gary Janzen, our city engineer. Thank you both for being here.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, why don't you guys start off by just telling us a little bit about the project?
You want to talk about and give them an overview of the project?
I can. The project itself will provide two bridges, another crossing in the floodway. It provides access from northbound 235 to westbound 13th, and then from eastbound 13th to southbound 235. So there won't be direct access across the floodway at 13th, but it's going to take a lot of the stress and the pressure off the Zoo Boulevard intersection where there's significant amount of traffic now. And we expect most of that to move to these bridges once they're completed. So it's been a long time coming. It's something that's been needed to have another avenue, a way to get across the floodway. Traffic's increased in West Wichita quite a bit, in recent years even. So we think it's going to do a good job of providing some relief there.
And Councilman Longwell, maybe you can talk about how long ago you guys started thinking about this project?
Well, it has been a long time coming, Laura Gail, and one of the things that, in fact, in the past, there's been 3 independent studies that looked at the bridge crossings and where it would have the biggest impact to West Side commuters. And after those 3 independent studies, there was still no movement on getting a new bridge put in. The council voted years ago to look at a 13th Street bridge. It failed on a 3-4 vote. They ultimately decided on a 25th Street bridge. We ended up taking those old studies and kind of resurrecting them and adding to them, and we took out cameras and we videotaped the turning movements. We put down road counters. We had people out there that were inspecting the turning movements and drivers, and what we found is that putting in the 13th Street crossing would provide the most relief for the Zoo Boulevard and provide some relief for the Central that's had some improvements that have helped some of the traffic that's backing up on the highway. This will have the biggest impact to those choke points right now, to the tune of, in some cases, almost 800 plus cars per hour. And so it's really going to change some of the choke points for West Side commuters.
And it's also going to improve public safety, correct?
Absolutely. Along with limited access across the big ditch, obviously means that first responders can't get there. And so now, if there's one minor fender bender, it could cause first responders to detour as much as 10 miles out of their way to cross that, and so you won't have those same issues.
And that's really important when you're in a critical situation where every second counts and they're trying to get there.
Absolutely. It really will be a much needed improvement to help public safety, but more importantly, it will be a nice infrastructure improvement that will help the commuters.
And Gary, maybe you could talk a little bit about what's going on right now with the project.
Up to this point, the project started in early 2013, and so far this year, the primary work that's been done is on the piers, the structural supports for the bridges, and anybody that drives by there can see how those have taken shape for the 2 separate bridges. Also done quite a bit of work on the west side of 13th Street, west of the project, making some improvements there to widen things to accommodate the new bridges. One of the things we're doing with that too is moving the entrance to Sedgwick County Park to the west to align with North Shore Boulevard, which is the entrance to Spinnaker Coves. The new signal for that intersection has been installed. Most of the south half of 13th Street's been improved, and we're trying to get caught up on some things from the rains, and we'll be moving to the north side soon and moving traffic to the new pavement. We've also been doing some work on the east side, which is phase 2 of the project, to make some improvements to Hoover Road, where the northbound on-ramp kind of had to move everything over.
Mm-hmm. And then what about moving forward? What can we expect?
The bridges are really going to start taking shape. Some of the steel girders have started to be installed on the west side. And the bridges will really come along soon. They'll start putting the rest of the steel up across the piers, out across the ditch. We got slowed down a little bit with some of the rains and couldn't do much work out in the ditch, but now that the water's gone down, they'll be able to take off with that again. As I mentioned, they'll move to the north side of 13th Street to try to get that done hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months. We've also got some work to do along both sides of 235 between Central and the project to provide additional width for lanes. Basically, it'll provide auxiliary lanes all the way to the Central interchange for being able to access the new bridges.
Sounds like a lot going on.
It is.
Councilman Longwell, are people, your constituents, are they pretty excited to see this project completed?
They are, and there's a couple of things that I'm hearing from folks in terms of this project getting completed. One of them is what Gary just mentioned, having the coordination of all of the other projects done at the same time so that when the bridge is open for traffic, it'll be able to get all the way through those areas, including Ridge and 13th, recognizing that those had to be improved to hold the increase in traffic coming across the bridge. And so it's been great coordination. The neighborhoods that are directly impacted have seen already some significant improvements take place. There will be more improvements before the bridge is ready for traffic, and so they're pretty excited about that. And staff has done a great job of coordinating all of those other projects that will help the entire area with the flow of traffic. People are excited again to have the first floodway crossing that has happened in many years. In fact, I can't even remember what the time frame was for the last floodway crossing. It was probably before Gary was born, I think. But it is going to be nice because it's going to, and West Wichita continues to grow, and it's, when we talked about those studies earlier, they recognize that when traffic gets to 1x, we need an additional floodway crossing. They talked about when traffic gets to 2x, you'll need 2 floodway crossings. Well, we are really technically at 3x today, and we're finally getting the first floodway crossing, so people are excited about that.
Will you guys talk a little bit about the cost of the project and who's paying for it?
The overall cost of the project's around $35 million. That includes construction for all 3 phases. As council member had mentioned, the first phase of the project was to make improvements to the 13th and Ridge intersection, which we did in 2012. That was done to add additional turn lanes to accommodate the expected increase in traffic that'll definitely happen once this project's completed. It also includes phase 2, which I mentioned is the Hoover improvements, and then obviously the core part of the project, which is phase 3 of the bridges themselves. That includes design costs, right-of-way acquisitions, and construction. It's all being funded by local sales tax funding that's in the capital improvement program. So all local funding is going to pay for that. The local sales tax has historically been used for freeway improvements, primarily Kellogg, over the course of quite a few years, and it's coming in handy here. So
Definitely. And so what was the official price tag?
Around $35 million overall cost.
This is probably the first major project that we've used that local sales tax for outside of the Kellogg Freeway.
Right, it is. But it's a good place for it. It's a good use of it, and it allowed us to be able to get this done and get to this point.
Yeah, and it sounds like the demand is definitely there.
No question.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to add?
Looking forward to the completion.
Yeah.
And what was the date for that?
Our original completion date is late in 2014. We think we can still make that. I mentioned before that the rains have kind of held us up. Needless to say, working in the channel itself when it was full of water, we couldn't do anything at all. So we've lost some ground there on doing some dirt work. Contractor thinks they can make up the time, and so we're still shooting for late next year.
All right, we'll be looking forward to the ribbon cutting.
Yeah.
All right, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Mario.
And thank you for watching this edition of Local Loop.